Gotta love recording in progress warnings.
Oh, there we go.
I've had that enough today. Every one of my meetings has been recorded. How are you?
Hey, it's the way we do business these days, damn it.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's go. Well, let's say, first of all, welcome to DaBelly. I'm speaking to Marcus Klavan today. He's from Bulletproof Messenger. Yay.
Woo.
We'll get
Thank
the
you so much
applause
for having
going.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, get the applause going. Where's your Elgato deck? You know, I've got the podcast mic.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations. You got a new record, or actually a new single coming out.
It's compiling to a record slowly but surely. As we know nowadays, singles matter. They collaborate into an album eventually. So we started slow releasing earlier this year. And quite honestly, there's a backlog during COVID where we met up and started writing more and started recording more. It's probably 13 songs we've worked on. And we're just, every few months releasing them as we have time to master and mix, as it were.
There's a worse place to be, and that's to have a deadline and about, no material at all. And
Amen. And that's something we'll never lack on. Like the material seems to always materialize, as it were. It's just really about life changes, jobs, wives, children. Voley's expecting, for that matter, in a month, and he's traveling right now.
Busy times,
busy times, my friend. But again, I appreciate being here, and I love answering these questions. It's been a very interesting few years.
Well, tell me a little bit about A Place for My Head. Tell me about the song itself.
Sure. So A Place for My Head, honestly, it came in conjunction with, I want to say, a half a dozen other songs that Voley was working on sort of independently while he was doing his travels. And literally sitting on that balcony right on Broadway, amongst nothing, literally Broadway shut down, boarded up, no one's going on the street, and trying to sort of, align the melodies and the conception to what's going on currently. And that really struck. And it really comes down to just overall, you're trying to get through some turbulence in your life and kind of looking down on yourself versus seeing it as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to get to know yourself better. And quite honestly, that's in the decade and a half we've been together, the most I've kind of introspectively looked at that. And Voley as well. We write together, we work together, we're like giving kind of conceptual ideas and melodies. Obviously melodies matter, but to him, just contextually, it matters more. Just literally saying, like, throw me what you got, life. I'll proceed with my life and come out better for it. And that is kind of soup to nuts, what it is about. And it's kind of been in conjunction again with the other dozen or so odd songs that we're trying to kind of, stitch together into a story. But for me, A Place in My Head was my favorite, and waiting until the third song was a bit much. Third song being almost 9 months, quite literally.
Oh yeah, I get it. Now, perspective is priceless. I mean, you look at the artist who paints that orange from 3 different angles. It's still orange, but somewhere there you find some artistry, right? And then it's important. Yeah, exactly.
And then you got to explain it later to lovely fellows like yourself. You'd be like, what the hell were you even talking about?
This is what I was seeing, but it was an orange. So
exactly. And quite honestly, it doesn't matter if it was yellow or pink to you. It matters if it, struck a chord. And for me, it might matter in some other way. And I would never say, to some listener, think about it the way I thought about it. Just read the lyrics and interpret the way you want to think, because that's what I do for my own favorite songs.
It's absolutely great to hear the listener's perspective as well, because sometimes that can of worms often is so involved and so enlightening, and sometimes yields more ideas.
Exactly. The subjective view versus an objective view. My view to these listeners, to our listeners, is very objective. To say, hey, I'm trying to tell a story that matters to me. But we're always cognizant of subjectively, these people have their own lives and their own issues. And how do you get to like the bottom of it? Like, everyone has problems. Everyone addresses it in generally a not positive way. I do, right? You do, right? Well, you don't look at things in a bigger picture and you're thinking about, woe is me, versus how can I use this to empower me? And that it's sort of a trope, right? At this point, in terms of how artistry thinks, take a good, make it a bad, make lemons out of lemonade. And that essentially is still what it is, right? You can go back to the 60s and 50s, is the same mentality.
The challenge with music, though, of course, is it becomes kind of the narrative of our lives. We look at back in these special moments. Voley's about to have a child. There's a song and there's some place he's going to remember forever.
I can't wait for that song, brother. I'm telling you, I can't wait to hear his latest writings, or when he comes back from Ireland or wherever he is right now. He'll always think of something. And that honestly makes the great partnership, in that I couldn't sit here. I can play guitar, I can play piano, but I can't just transition emotion to instrumentality, like to instruments, versus lyrically or melodically. I need that bass, right? So Voley always provides that base of like emotional spread. Like, I'm dumping my heart on you, make this into something. And that always excites me. Always.
It's just a wall to bounce another ball off of and see how it comes back.
I'm sure you have friends you talk to on a daily basis, or people, obviously you're a musician as well, and things that just inspire you. Sometimes that's even more poignant than you creating it yourself in a vacuum, right? So like, I'm thinking about this song in this manner versus someone saying, hey, here's a curveball. Here's sort of what I'm thinking. Put your own spin on it. To me, that is exciting. I couldn't play guitar for shit. I could do bar chords. I don't know how to read music, even 15 years into this.
Well,
Voley can. He's the virtuoso, right? So like music theory, all of that vibe. I'm just like, it sounds good. I can sing to this. And that's it.
There it is.
Just sit on the balcony for 15 hours. Literally.
Well, the first song of this first trio of songs that came out was, of course, The Divide. And it was a song about overcoming differences and finding ways to sort of conquer our challenges. It's a very poignant time for that statement, for that sentiment. Is that why you chose it as the first song in the group?
So it's twofold, right? To your point, we were divided as a band, right? So a decade since our last show, we're obviously still best friends. I go camping with these guys, but we didn't come together in that manner. And coming from literally strangers on my street, people literally divided by their own mentalities. And that's kind of where it came down to. It mattered to us as a group, as a family, but also paralleled, honestly, every relationship, down to the homeless person on the street. Oh, I think Voley just joined and then just asked.
He's digging
What's
in.
up, buddy? I'm talking about how you divided me.
You're going to have to unmute there, Voley.
He's got to unmute. He literally has his flight suit on right now. Happy landing, brother.
Yeah, just landed. Sorry, guys.
It's all good. It's all good. Welcome.
We were just talking about the fundamentals of divide, right? Between us as a band and between just people in general, and how that was poignant.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we always try.
10 years is a long time for the band to sort of be away from each other. And I know that when I walk away from playing an instrument for a longer period of time, when I sit back down to it, it's fresh again. I have new ideas, a new approach. It must have been the same for you guys.
Yeah. I actually changed the way that I write over the past few years, just to, because look at me, I'm in my flight suit right now, but just to set up, like I used to carry my guitar on the road with me a lot, but it's kind of, it's only one guitar, and like half the stuff we do is in different tunings anyway, but that's kind of a pain to lug that thing around all the time. So I started using just MIDI to write everything, and I actually love it because it, I can see you're a guitarist too. You start you get that muscle memory, and you always write the same riffs. And it seems like, it's hard to get out of that box that you're used to being in. And it's not for everybody, but if you kind of have a riff idea in your head, or what you want to hear, you just program everything to it. It takes a little learning curve to get into it and understand how to do it. But once you get it, it's quick. You can write a song in under 5 to 8 hours, and it's pretty much I have a writing template with all the MIDI stuff, the drums, guitar, bass, and it's without the vocals, it just takes me 4 to 8 hours just to write a fully produced, it's 90% mixed, that I know it's gonna what it's gonna sound like when it's done, when we actually record the real instruments to it, and it's awesome. So it just upped my game that much quicker. So I started doing that, and I just started doing one a day, and I did a bunch, and ended up linking up with Marcus like, you know, a few weeks later and showed him all the stuff. He's like, holy crap, how did you do? You did all this
yourself?
Wow.
Exactly. And honestly,
Really
we've worked with Grammy award-winning producers. We've worked with ourselves in our own bands, and things have happened less intuitively than it has in this situation, where he sort of handed literally just like a dozen songs that he's been working on himself, and everything came so quickly and so fluently without dealing with some, you know, outside external opinions, let's say, where Voley's and I are opinions, like we've written together dozens and dozens of songs and albums, and this album, for whatever reason, just came together so easily.
I think you and I have been quite a bit too over the past couple of years, you know, and just easier to write.
It's a beautiful thing when you find that synergy between two people, and you know, there's no explaining it, but it's there.
Hey, we started in our early 20s, so at a certain point, just grow the fuck up. And you're like, hey, we've been through a lot more in our lives. We know how to work with each other. We know how to play to our strengths and our weaknesses for sure. And things just came together. And we're looking forward to the next round of 12 or 6 songs that will be coming out, for that matter, that you haven't heard yet.
So where are you guys finding the differences on the new material? Kind of a contrast question. Where are you finding the differences on the new material compared to the first couple albums?
Kind of a hard question. Go ahead, Vol.
Part of the reason I got into producing and recording and doing all this stuff is because I usually like, I mean, we've always like written with the computers like on our own and started putting the songs together, like in the recorded versions, like early on, like we were never just a like jam in the room type of band per se. So like it was always there, and it was always like a decent demo, and the recordings might not have sounded amazing back in the day, but there was a vibe that was there on the recordings that a lot of times when we went into the studio, particularly on our second album, at least for me, it like the sound just totally wasn't what I was thinking, you know, so it ended up like totally different from what I was picturing in my head. And I wasn't like completely happy with the production, and not that like the sound quality sounds good. It just wasn't like the angle I was going for like, you know, just the way I wanted everything to sound when it came together. So it was weird for me. So I'm like, I gotta do it myself, because that's what I want to hear. And at least for me, like the end product is like a lot closer to what I wanted, because I've been, you know, mixing and doing all most of the production on it anyway. So I'm a lot happier in that respect. But Marcus, you got a take on it?
Same thing, man. I mean, you're talking about multi-million-dollar studios, Grammy award-winning producers, everything we could possibly want to produce this, but also investors and time and effort. And, you know, you're at a certain level where you're just like, produce these songs, put them out, go on tour. That is what it is. And this time around, there was none of that. Not that we needed it. Go ahead, Vol. What'd you say?
Well, it wasn't either. Last time we were writing at the same time as I was in flight school for the Army, and like
exactly.
then like, we $50,000 Alabama, and I was going to Iraq like right after I got back. So like we just recorded an album. We signed up for this thing and won $50,000 like 6 months later. So like we were rushing to like get songs done and finish them and create an album. And it just kind of like, to me, it shows a lot of people like the second album, like, which great. I love that. But like, to me, it was like rushed and totally put at the last minute. And, you know, like I wasn't even there for half the mix process. So I was in Iraq.
And that's what really changes this. Our first album, we had time. We're in Long Island in our own studio. We produced it to ad nauseum. The second was highly produced, multi-million-dollar, all that bullshit. This is just us working on something we love, and it shows 100%. And even the feedback from our fans, from our PR people, from everyone literally has been much more receptive. And again, it may be technology and like we were talking about earlier, Dave, like singles coming out, Spotify. We didn't even have digital cameras when we were touring last, for that matter. So things have obviously changed a lot, but what changed the most is just our mentality. And that, like, these are my brothers. We would do things even if we weren't writing music, but it feels like this is sort of a, you know, full circle. You know, we're coming of age. We've done it before. We've had the crazy expensive bullshits, and this is just us doing something. And I feel like we're actually making strides as people, as friends, as musicians. Like, so proud of what we're doing right now.
So it's becoming far less unusual these days for a band like yourself, Unsigned. Some would look at that and say an unsigned band, you know, they're taking an outside perspective, an outside approach to the music industry, where others would say, I'm taking an inside approach. I don't want those guys messing with my stuff.
Ever, or ruining it quite literally. And you think you've gone to the comeuppance, like I'm at the top, but you're at the top, you're under scrutiny, constant scrutiny. And honestly, we've opened up for arenas. We played with giant bands. We've done the big tours. None of that mattered, to be quite honest.
That's
it's really
fun.
about what do you have to show for it. And for us, it's always the music. And to your point, right now, we're doing it for ourselves. And it feels better. Everything feels better.
It's fun, but it's also not like anything a label could really do for you these days, other than like, you know, really like good, which I feel like you need to have on your own anyway to, you know, to be able to get anywhere anyway. So like a band like us, they'd probably just sit on our release and put all the money, you know, towards another project or something. And you know, and they probably like, you know, you've heard many bands getting their albums just like, you know, recorded, done, and then they just never release them because it costs money to, and
Or
all
label
the rights to
folds,
the
and they lose
masters
the
and
record, or
exactly. And we already have the
Yeah,
millions of plays and the verified accounts and all the bullshit that labels would pay for organically. So what would they do? You know, aside from, you know, being some giant celebrity and on a giant tour, nothing, quite honestly, in terms of producing the actual songs that matter.
No, I get it. I
Not
get
saying
it.
there's not a scenario that.
Yeah.
So, so you're keep you in the loop on this one, Voley. I'm up against a hard limit here. I'm 10 minutes. I got another interview, so I got to kind of round this out with my final question. That, of course, is touring. What are you guys going to do? You hitting the road?
It's a big question.
Who knows? We're not even at that state yet. We're still working on finishing songs for the rest of the releases, but you know, as hopefully more interviews like this will pop up, and because our organic reach on Facebook is horrible these days. So like, you know, it's hard, like people that are like 33 songs into this and like 9 months into it almost, and we've like still got people coming out of the woodwork saying, I saw you had a new song. Holy crap, I saw you had 2 others. I'm finding it now. So we need more opportunities like this with guys like you to get the word out, because I don't, you know, it's hard. Like where do you go these days? It's like Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and they'll throttle you back if you're not paying for it. So it's tough.
And we are paying for it, quite honestly, to get to our fan base. And as Voley just said, they're still not aware. You can spend thousands of dollars on your own followers and they will never hear it, unless you're spending tens of thousands or $100,000. And then you better have some like political ad, because that's what they'll pump.
Yeah, the marketing side has become an extreme challenge for all of us.
Insane. Yeah. But to Voley's point, we've got, sorry, go ahead, Vol.
Yeah. So now once all our fans come out of the woodwork, that's when we can start touring, because we need to have all the people, places to pack the venues, or, you know, at least we're not playing to like 3 dudes and a bartender, you know?
Oh, amen. Though that
You're
was
doing well
fun.
with that.
We did have fun.
Yeah.
Let's be real. But we're only 3 into the dozen plus songs. So we've got a lot more to release before we're in that vibe of let's tour. That's all.
See, our inside joke was
We just got to keep the hype.
We always had a full house of chairs.
Or at least free booze.
Yeah.
At least. We have some stories. If you have more than 10 minutes one day, we'll tell you for sure.
Oh, that's all good. Well, I appreciate you guys having a moment with me today. And I love the music. It sounded really good. And I was eager to get this interview going. And that's why we're here today. I mean, to share just a moment and to shout out all about Bulletproof Messenger and, you know, tell the world.
Dave, thanks so much for your time, buddy.
Well, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
All right. You have a good day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.